Alan Kelly is in the studio with us. Alan, of course, frequent contributor during the campaign in 2008 and 2012, founder, CEO of Playmaker Systems. He's at playmakersystems.com, and he has a blog, which is called Plays for the Presidency, and joins us. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I looked at your predictions, so wondering what you thought the president might run for plays. And for those not familiar, it's sort of like a periodic table of elements for politics. These are plays. These are standard strategies that are used, and it doesn't have to be in politics. It just so happens that you apply them to politics.
That's right. And once you know the plays, you can also create a decision system. So if you know that the play is, let's say, a label, which we'll talk about later, you can know then how a label can be countered or maybe helped or complemented. So you can use it not just simply to say, oh, here's what that thing is called, but here's what we should do about it.
So I'm going to run through some of these things because I wonder if you were Nostradamus, who basically predicts everything correctly because people reread Nostradamus to make it fit, or if you were the Mayans who messed it up on December of last year, the end of the world, and see how close you came to either one of those two models.
I might have hit a few. I'm a creature of Silicon Valley, and so I would think that, to me, it seemed obvious that he would come and he would link global warming and climate change and sustainable and technology with jobs that each in a way is an answer to the other. Mm-hmm. And I think that he did a fair amount of that in more toward the middle of his speech. It was not as obvious as I thought it would be, but it was there.
One thing you did mention, you said that the president would not drone about drones. He would run a pass on drones, which he did. He did not really talk about that.
Well, he actually ran a play we call a trump, which is like bridge to sort of to
has nothing to do with bad hair.
No. But he did say something to the effect to answer the calls for accountability and due process. He did say we will be accountable. He had words to that effect, but then that was it. He quickly got off of it. He did really not spend an awful lot of time on the Middle East, Africa equation, and he didn't necessarily need to.
Okay. You had also predicted that the president would bait Congress, that's a play, to deal with sequestration, the so-called draconian cuts that are looming on March the 1st. I can throw all these words out there that we're using in all the headlines, and that he would run his favorite label, self-inflicted wounds, to sharpen his baited hook. So how did that turn out?
He did not do that. He came close. I thought he was going to say self-inflicted wounds, literally that soundbite, and drive that play we call a label, but he didn't. So on that one.
The president, but he did say when it referred to that as we cannot keep going back and forth and essentially something he said before, which is we can't run government basically by lurching from crisis to crisis. Was that not a call out? Was that not the equivalent of what you were looking for, or?
It's a play that we call a fiat. It's a declaration of information or intent or of an idea. I believe that, boom. And I felt that was his dominant play here. He is the President of the United States. He is relatively on a roll right now. It is he is the newly reminted president. And so he came, I thought, with a lot of authority. It was interesting. It was a pretty efficient speech. It was 60 minutes. I didn't feel like he was playing for applause much. He was just rolling right through this thing, which to me was an indicator that he was there to deliver his message, to tell more than ask.
And he was also telling people, as opposed to the people in the room. The sense is that his audience right now is the American public, as opposed to the people in the room. But to specifically talk about something I mentioned just before the news, and that was the president with that one emotional couple of minutes at the end of the speech. We had guests in the box alongside the First Lady. But give a quick listen, and then we'll get your take on this, Alan Kelly.
They deserve a vote. They deserve a vote. They deserve a vote.
Anyway, he was talking about several different groups that deserved votes: the people who were victims of the shootings in Aurora, Colorado, the people who were victims of the shootings in Newtown, Connecticut. So
he is pouring it on.
Pouring it on. Is that a play? I mean, a pitcher?
Well, it's
a ewer?
To us, it's a play if it's somehow like completely irreduced and completely unique in and of itself. So pouring it on is maybe a strategy, but a very, very generalized one. And you can find various stratagems within it. For instance, he's running a play called A Screen. He's using Newtown without apology. He talked about Newtown. He talked about that we have 1,000 Newtowns. We've had 1,000 deaths basically by shooting since Newtown.
Mm-hmm.
He's using all of these statistics and imagery to back up his point. And then of course he's saying they deserve a vote, which is very populist, very much like him. And it was very much his preacher character.
I was going to ask you about that. There is this something that pops up occasionally when the president gets to something that is either emotional, and he starts using the rhetorical device of being not just on the bully pulpit, but on the religious pulpit, where he gets that rhythm, he gets the verbiage, he gets that kind of what I guess in Greek theater they used to call it the strophe and the antistrophe. It was the answer, the chorus,
yes,
the front,
that's it.
the go forward and back. Okay. Well, but you know what? It's the back and forth. The audience response, give me an amen. Almost, he's not saying that,
that's
but
right.
It has that approach. Is that a play or is that just a style?
No, you'd have to say that those are variables. Those are nuances. Like the dials on the board in front of you. Okay. There are all sorts of ways to adjust the context and the nuance for the stratagems themselves. That's an important thing to separate. If you don't make that separation, you can't really tell what the play is itself.
Okay. I want to play another piece of the president and get your take on this, Alan Kelly.
Every dollar we invested to map the human genome returned $140 to our economy. Every dollar.
All right. So, again, Alan Kelly with us, and it's the Playmaker Systems CEO and founder. What's the play in here?
Well, he's trumping again. He's trying to beat Republicans to their usual refrain that, too much government is too much of the answer, if you will. And so he's saying, let's not forget that smart investment, and he used the word smart government rather than too much government, is the way to go. And
this is why he uses the straw man a lot. He's setting up. He's using the Trump to basically say, "Here's what you're going to hear from these guys. They're going to tell you that I'm crazy." It's
tough if he takes those series of lines and thoughts and talking points. He forces Republicans to sort of sit on their hands. It's going to be tough to rebut that. Now, Marco Rubio tried to do that, and I think one of the criticisms of his speech is that he didn't really have that evidence because Obama had beaten him to it. Obama had said, let's invest smartly. Let's cut
the cost of government. We need smart government, not big government.
It can't all be about that.
Right.
So I thought that was a very smart Trump.
Right, and it was almost a preemption, if you will, just because of the fact the president did it first, and Marco Rubio was left with the speech in his hand that he had to deliver. I thought he did a couple of things effectively, by the way, one of which was to say it's not about protecting millionaires, it's about protecting my neighbors, because I am in the same neighborhood where I grew up. But there was another one, and I'm going to get your take on this. This is a Marco Rubio clip from last night.
We need student aid that does not discriminate against programs that non-traditional students rely on, like online courses or degree programs that give you credit for work experience. When I finished school, I owed over $100,000 in student loans, a debt I paid off just a few months ago.
Okay, so what play is being run here?
Wow, $100,000.
Yeah,
Marco Rubio, a Republican, and what he's doing is it's a play. It's a funny name, but bear with me. It's called a disco. And that word and that term lives in the world of parliamentary debate. It was coined, perhaps obviously in the early 1980s, or maybe it was the late 70s, because what a player or
in that brief horrible period of time where disco music ruled.
I saw nothing wrong with it personally,
okay.
But at any rate,
debate to be held another day.
But the idea here is that it's very smart, often for a rhetorician, to make a concession. Maybe he's pressing points A, B, C, and D. He will to buy credibility or to earn some level of trust or authenticity back. He'll say, I was talking about A, B, C, and D, but C is really not true. I was wrong about that. So what he's saying, look, I really do value the fact that I could get student aid. And he talked later about his father really having needed Medicare. And he says, but be that as it may, we still need to look carefully about student aid and Medicare and so on and so forth. So he's making concessions to buy himself some credibility so he could address and make a broader point. It was a play that we called a disco. It's a freezing play.
Interesting. Well, that was Marco Rubio. Of course, the thing that is unfortunately for him going to live on is the I don't know who did that. The swallows. When the swallows come back to Capistrano.
That's some fancy forensic work by Angus.
Oh, wonderful.
But and I feel badly actually about bringing this up. But in terms of influence,
you can't help it. This is going to be This has gone wild already on the internet, and we know Saturday Night Live is going to do the cold open with him drinking water on Saturday night.
That's right.
This is the world we live in.
It's the big gulp, and the operative play
against
there,
the law in New York.
Yeah, that's right. The operative play there is the label again, and it's not actually a label that can be written in words. They might call it the big gulp or the big swig or something like that. But it's going to be slapped onto him. It's going to stick to him in a way that's going to be very tough for him to peel off. Unless
if he goes on Saturday Night Live on Saturday night, he'll be a lot smarter and better for it.
And that is generally the way that politicians have been dealing with the adherence of the label play to them.
All right. Not as important as, of course, all the rest of what was in the speech. Interesting thoughts, as always. Plays for the Presidency is where Alan blogs and writes. Playmakersystems.com is the website. Always great when you come in.
Good to see you.
Look at it. Good to see you, too. I look forward to talking to your class, by the way.
All right. Looking forward to having you.